Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. Just got off the phone with my friend Jigger Jim talking about Black Lake, and I think it's important that we cover Black Lake as much as we can because it's a huge part of our fishery resource. Well, Jim told me that he and his son Seth have been fishing northern pike. And first of all, I said to Jim, Jim, you working in the log cabins, do you get a lot of people that come up just to target northern pike? He says, absolutely. He said people from Pennsylvania actually make their vacations around the beginning of pike season. The first couple weeks that pike season opens in Black Lake, he says, it's phenomenal. So I said, well, how are you and Seth doing? He said, we're using white spinnerbaits primarily and MEP spinners, and we're fishing along the edge of weed lines now. This is important because once you get back in the weeds, it's hard to use, especially MEP spinners. Those weeds are growing so quickly and they foul the lure up. But you want to fish along the edge where the weed line begins, where the weed growth begins. And right along that edge is where the fish will hold out. They'll ambush things that are going by that edge. And he said Seth has hooked 4 that he said were absolutely huge. And I said, well, what does huge mean? Because it's going to mean different things to different people. He says, I'm talking pike over 36 inches, which is over, on average, it's going to be over 12 pounds. And a lot of times we don't realize that there's some really lunker, huge northern pike in Black Lake. So I found this really interesting. I talked to him about the crappie fishing there, and he said, it's getting tougher and tougher to get fish big enough to actually keep, because a crappie now has to be 10 inches long before you can keep it. In the past, you could just keep numbers and numbers of these fish, and I always used to wonder, how do they survive the numbers? But panfish tend to really, they reproduce in numbers. But anyway, he said the crappie fishing is always going to be good on Black Lake, but you're going to catch, for 100 fish that you might catch, he said probably only 7 will be over that 10-inch size. Now, this is one person telling you this. And everybody, and especially people that really love to fish crappies, they get really good at what they do, and they may have a different opinion. But the point is that a 10-inch crappie is a big fish. And to catch a bunch of them that big is really not all that easy. You know, Black Lake has everything. It has a northern pike. It has walleyes. It has, of course, bass. And here's one final thing I wanted to say. Jim says that people that come up on vacation, their primary goal is to fill an ice chest full of fish. And so they don't care what they are. They just want those fillets in there. And so a lot of bass are kept before season. Again, according to the people that watch them. And we know that this is always going to be the case. It's always been the case. But I want for those of you listening to realize that any place in St. Lawrence County and any place in Franklin County, I don't care if you're out in the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, or if you are fishing the inland waters, it is illegal to catch and release bass, let alone keep them. It's illegal until June 15th. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.